So this is episode 19 of LazyTownie podcast, and I have a very, very special guest, DJ BRENN. And a lot of you actually who follow me know who he is. But the point of this podcast, I really want to break it down and try to get to know him. So the first question I want to ask you is, where did you grow up? Where are you living now? And how did that affect what you're doing now, like today?
Yeah, absolutely, man. First, just want to say thanks for having me on.
No doubt, man.
This is awesome. Like I said to you earlier, this is my first podcast I've been invited on, so
I'm honored, dude.
This is great. I'm honored.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I grew up in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Moon Township to be exact. It's right by the airport. I grew up my whole life. I grew up a musician. My dad has been a lifelong band director at local high school and middle school. He's been a musician his whole life. My uncle, he was in Hollywood for a while. He was on like world tour. He's a great singer. And he's a teacher. He's a choir teacher. My aunt's a choir teacher. Like, I just have a lot of music that runs in my family. And so growing up, I was taking piano lessons from like the age of 5. I was always in the band in school and stuff like that. And then once I got towards the end of high school, I knew that I wanted to pursue some type of music after school. So I ended up finding this school called Capital University in Columbus, Ohio, and they have an amazing music technology program, which is like audio engineering, studio work,
right,
and all stuff like that. So I ended up going there. I'm now in my senior year there. I got one more semester left. Looking for any type of audio engineering work in a studio, all that stuff. But then when you thought to talk about DJing from there, that is like, I always get questions like when I tell people that I'm in school for audio engineering.
Well,
like,
I gotta say, like, you what you just said to me was surprising, because it's like you're in school for something, but, and again, we're gonna get to my point later on, but you have a following that would never think that it isn't something you've already mastered.
Yeah.
Like that. So that's like, to me, that's shocking to me to hear that.
Well, you see, what I was gonna say is that I get a lot of questions like this, like when I tell people, "Oh yeah, I'm an audio engineer," or I'm like going to school for music technology.
Right.
A lot of times, because like especially now, people know me as a DJ, and
Right.
they're like, "Oh, is that DJ school?" And I'm like, "No, it's not DJ school." Even though that a lot of people might think that, because music technology, oh, I DJ, all that stuff, but I go for mixing and mastering of like music, not like DJ mixing, as in I'm talking like, setting volumes and, editing vocals and all that stuff, post-production in movies, any type podcast recording, radio broadcast, TV broadcast, like anything that has to do with audio. That's what I'm in school for. And that's what I'm trying to master. DJing has always been a side thing,
Right.
but they come hand in hand. Once, like I've noticed that working as a DJ has helped me improve how I want my music that I create and mix myself to sound. Because, I know how all the other records sound and I know how these want to sound. And it's really cool that you can end up blending it. And you you might have mentioned, I don't know if you mentioned already that, like, how did I start becoming a DJ?
Well, yeah, I mean, like, so first you mentioned that you're from Pittsburgh, so I want to get into that,
Sure thing.
also, but for me, growing up, I would say it was around eighth grade to when I was in high school. I'm 28, so it was from like 8th grade to high school. Pittsburgh was one of the like meccas for destroying your computer, downloading mixtapes, whether it was Wiz, Mac, fucking Chevy Woods, whoever. And I think coming from you as a native of Pittsburgh, do you think that it doesn't get as much shine as it should in hip hop because of the impact that it did have? Like, it had a humongous, like, Wiz Khalifa was massive. Mac Miller, obviously, rest in peace, as we all know, was massive. And I feel like people never actually talk about the fact that we were all viciously downloading their music for
Yeah.
years. There was a set period of time, like 4 years, where if they put anything out, it was getting downloaded.
Yeah. I think that's a good, I think it's a good question. I think it's kind of a two-way split. Like, I wouldn't say that Pittsburgh doesn't get its shine or like its recognition as being, a place for music, a place for hip hop, especially in the past
Right.
10, 15 years. Because, we have guys like Mac Miller and Wiz Khalifa and Chevy Woods and Jimmy Wapo, who was on the rise until he
Right.
tragically
Right.
passed away.
Yep.
So I think that Pittsburgh is definitely on the map in terms of music. What you said, get its shine. Is it glorious to be from Pittsburgh? No. Like, I think that's like when you're talking like, and I don't mean that in a way that like I love the fact that I'm from Pittsburgh. I'm like,
Yeah, sure.
I bleed Pittsburgh, man. Sports, everything. But like when when you're an artist and you say, yeah, I grew up in Los Angeles versus, yeah, I grew up in Pittsburgh. You know what I mean? It's like,
Right.
oh, you grew up in LA, you Hollywood, blah blah blah, or New York, or all the classic music industry areas. When you
Right.
think of Pittsburgh, it doesn't have that glamorous effect, but at the same time, it has so many unbelievable musicians, not only in rap but just music in general that
Oh,
come out.
definitely. And I kind of look at Pittsburgh, and this is maybe like the NFL fan in me.
Mhm.
Like, obviously, I live near Boston, so you have it. To me, it's like Boston, Philly, Pittsburgh, as like you said, it's not that you're not proud to be from there, but it's not glamorous when
Yeah.
people from the outside look at it. They
Mhm.
think of those three places, and you could throw New York in there too. They think of those four places as, we're cold 9 months out of the year, angry, pissed off, and we all want to fight people. Like, we all want to,
Yeah, just
it,
hardworking, like
right.
iron, steel, all that, blue
Yes.
collar. They don't think
Yes.
of like, music production and fame and, like, oh,
Exactly.
yeah.
Right. Exactly. So, um, yeah, I mean, back to what we were talking about, you mentioned, and what I want to know is, so you mentioned you have a family that has an extensive musical background. As far as you being a DJ, did you know when you were younger that DJing was something you wanted to do? Or did you look at like producers and say, that's what I want to do? And DJing came like recently, like growing up, is this where you're at now?
Mhm.
Is that something that you saw yourself doing?
In terms of DJing, absolutely not.
That's crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, I really stumbled into DJing.
Mhm.
It was so like when I was in high school, like I said, I always had a sort of an idea in my mind that I wanted to be in the music industry, but I was always sort of thinking about, my dad always wanted me to be a teacher, because he's a teacher, and that was
Mhm.
always an option. Like I did my senior project about teaching and
Right.
stuff like that. Um, and then as I got further into high school, I discovered like, the audio engineering side of things, and that took my interest. But in terms of DJing, it was like, I think it was my sophomore year of high school. Me and a buddy of mine, he downloaded this like free phone app on his phone. I forget the name of it. I have one now still. It's called like DJing or something.
Right.
And he was messing around with it, and I'm like, yo, let me see that. And I just started messing around on a phone app, and I like was just having a blast. And I'm like, I gotta get this app. So I get the app. I spend hours on this phone app, just with my Apple Music library or whatever, just mixing songs. It's a terrible app. Like, I shouldn't say it's terrible, but it's just a phone app. There's not much you can do with it.
Sure.
It's just they have basic little features, and it's like you touch stuff and you can fade in and out of stuff. But I ended up getting really good at it, like on the phone app.
Yeah.
I mean, like as good as you can get for a phone app. Like I was able to start putting some just mixes together. I had no idea what I was doing at this point too. I never touched a piece of hardware. I never like paid attention to DJs or whatnot. But like I said, I had a musical background, so it just some of the stuff like beat matching or mixing a song because it's in the same key or whatever would sort of just came a little more naturally, I guess. And so I ended up just starting making mixes on this phone. It kind of became a joke between like my friends and like, some of my peers in school, like, and, like, cause I was just always messing around with it. And then it got to the point where it's like my senior year and I had a lot of friends on the basketball team, and they're like, "Yo, can you make us a mixtape for our team?" And I'm like, "I've never done this before, but
Yeah.
it sounds awesome. So yeah, let me try it." They gave me a list of songs. I make this mix like live recorded on my phone, on a phone app. And I would go to every high school. I would go to every game that year, every home game, and plug my phone into the aux cord for the gym speakers and play
Yeah.
the mix for the pregame. It was so fun. And
But I bet people loved it though, right?
well,
Like,
that's then like the student section, of course, was always there, and basketball
yeah.
student sections are awesome.
Oh, yeah.
And I would every time I played, I'd watch the student section, and they were just loving it. Like,
Right.
and part of that was not me. Part of that was because I had a couple guys on that team that had a great taste in music, and they picked like all these songs that it was like 2017 or something. And they picked like one of the dudes gave me Bad and Bougie. I didn't know what Bad and Bougie was. And then like I put it in that track, and then like when like during that basketball season, like Bad and Bougie became, what it is today.
Right.
And so like obviously some of that was just me getting great recommendations. But either way, it's like people love the mix. Like I was always getting complimented on it. And like then after that basketball season, because they had a really good season, they won the states, or they didn't go states that year. But anyways, they won a lot of championships that year. Doesn't matter. But so I was playing in a bunch of games. People were hype about the game, and people just started to notice that. And then next thing I know, I'm getting like more people from different teams, sports teams, asking me to make mixes.
Okay.
Like the girls lacrosse team and the volleyball team. And I played lacrosse since 7th grade. I still play in college too. And like I had my team ask me, "Yo, can you make us a mixtape?"
Yeah. Yeah. You
So
made the basketball team one. Like, make
yeah,
us
yeah.
one.
Here we
Yeah.
go. I'm just pumping out all these mixes on my phone. And after doing so many of them, I always got like decent feedback on them and stuff. I was like, maybe I should like try this for real.
And that's interesting because anytime that people find out that there's something that they're good at, whether and it gets a reaction, it always starts with something like that, like as simple as a phone app, or as simple as like just shooting the shit with your friends, and they find you funny and they find you entertaining, and you're like, all right, maybe this could do something, and then you're getting so where you're at, you're getting a massive response. People want to hear this. People want to see this. People want to, want you to make mixes for them. So my question to you is, at what point was that the point right there where you knew, like, if I continue to do this, it could become something, like, or was there a point after that? Because right there, getting, maybe you can relate to this, but getting like real love from a hometown is hard, especially if people know you. They may know you as somebody else. They may not know that you're a DJ, or they may not know that you love music. And a lot of times when people start to get a little bit of success, they don't get the love from their hometown, but they're seeing the love from other places. But you seem to have just gotten it, which explains why you have like the following you have right now, I think. And to me, I think what I saw from you on TikTok was, because you dropped the first transition I heard you do, and for people who don't know transition, it's like when a song transitions into another one, and a lot of the times the better ones align with each other, whether it's lyrics, the sound, whether it's whatever. I want to say it was the high one. I want to say it was high.
I want to say it was that one too, because you've been following me for a while, man. That's why I appreciate you. That's why
my next point was this. When I messaged you, you had on TikTok, because I obviously I had no idea who you were, but I heard that, and I love hip hop music. I'm a nerd about it. And when I heard that transition, I was like, oh, it was perfect. Like, it was perfect. And so I was like, fuck it. I got to message this dude and tell him how good that was. And I remember messaging you. And at the time you had maybe 2,000 followers. Okay.
Wow.
So for the people listening, okay, I messaged him. He had 2,000 followers at the time. The last time I checked, you were at. I just played one of your stuff. Hold on. You are now at 153,000.8.
That's nuts.
Is that nuts to you? Like,
It's
what? The fact that when you let me backtrack, because even I'm as amazed. Like because I saw it, I knew it was gonna happen. I used to tell you, dude, you're gonna blow up. Like
you
you're
did.
gonna blow up on this app, and I didn't
100%
know.
you did.
I didn't know you threw a hole in the wall. But was it that first? What piece of content did you make where you started to see those likes like really rack up?
Well,
and the follows.
Yeah, it was. So that just backtracking a little bit, how I even started my TikTok
Right.
was, so I started in March, right when COVID really sort of hit everything, as I'm sure a lot of people did start like other accounts and whatnot.
Of course.
And I started it because, like I said, I play lacrosse at Capital University, and one of my buddies, like right before, so like it was like March 7th or 8th, around that time, like a week before COVID really became a thing. And one of my buddies had a post, because he had like 13,000 followers on TikTok, and he made this, like, he's just a funny guy. He always makes like just these hilarious videos.
Yeah.
And he had a post absolutely blow up. Like he got like 2 million views overnight. And it was like the most simple post. It was just like a meme basically.
Right.
And but it just absolutely blew up. And he had another one blow up after that, and he was getting like thousands of followers and stuff. And I'm like, geez, like because I had an Instagram at that point. I started my Instagram like a year and a half ago, 2 years ago.
Yeah.
I had like 200 followers, whatever. It's basically just my friends and stuff. And Instagram's so hard to grow.
Very.
Very hard. And like I saw him just blowing up, and I'm like, I didn't really know what TikTok was at that point. And I'm like, that seems like, geez, like that was easy. Like he was like, he made a meme. It was funny. It was great. And he's like a hilarious dude. But I'm like, that's it. It was like a 10-second video. And he's got he's got like, 500,000 likes and 2 million views. And he just gained 10,000 followers off of it. I'm like, geez, that maybe I should try this. And like, but I'm like, at that point I was like, yeah, well, maybe over the summer or whatever. Cause I still had a season to focus on and all that. And then like 5 days later, we get the hammer dropped on us by COVID. We cancel school. My season gets cut 5 games in. We're going home. Like it's just how it is. I don't need to explain.
So before you go further, what's wild to me is, do you think so? By what you're telling me, if COVID hadn't hit, you probably wouldn't even have attempted that, right?
I don't like to say that COVID was a good thing for me, because it's not, but in a certain way, like the angle you took at it. And I think about it sometimes too, if it wasn't for the world going up in flames and, everything being canceled, I would have never started where I might have eventually hopped on, cause it's a huge app now. Like,
of course,
I would have eventually said, oh, I got to do this. But I was definitely early, I think, in terms of, before the huge popularity hit. Not that it wasn't popular before, but.
And so your friend tells you about it. You say you're going to get on it. And in your mind, do you know right away, you're like, I'm going to go on it and just showcase what I can do musically? Like, was that the first thought?
Yeah, I was just, my thing is like, so I'd already posted videos on Instagram, and like just basic transition videos. I can't even remember why I started even my like first Instagram account. Just wanted to post and, get my name out there. It was more like, I think it was more of just like when I start like, like doing clubs and stuff, whatever, like I want some like credibility or reference that I can have,
like a resume,
post stuff. Yeah, like a resume. And then to say, here, here's social media, here's my mixes.
Yeah.
Blah blah blah. But yeah, when I started my TikTok, I just posted my like 4 or 5 favorite mixes that I had done on my Instagram at that point. And I still hadn't like really taken a great video yet. I was still figuring out how to like, record myself in my space, and I didn't have a camera at that point. I was using my phone. And I just posted my favorite ones. And I posted the first one. My very first post was the Stay High mix, the one that you found me on.
Fucking sick.
Thank you.
Still fucking so sick.
And I posted that. I posted like 2 others. I didn't know anything about like, the algorithm or whatever it is. And I just posted and let it go. I like after it was like a week, like I had like 100 likes on that post or whatever.
Right.
And I think it was actually on the 6th day. The 6th day, I wake up one morning and my phone's just blowing up.
There's been 2 mixes of yours, especially transitions, the high one and the mercy one. Both of those transitions I have seen so many videos of that aren't you, but it's your sound. You woke up and you had all these followers. Were you a bit like, because I wonder what it must feel like to wake up and see that. Is the first thought like, oh, this, you're a little bit nervous? Like, oh,
Yeah.
you didn't mean for it to blow up like that, and then it did, and you're like, okay, so what? Like, the question must be like, all right, what do I do now? Like,
it was never
go like, all right, I should just keep doing this then.
Yeah, it was never like obviously when you wake up and then like that first video is blowing up. Yeah, like I posted with the intent of gaining followers and getting recognized and stuff because I felt that like I could make good content.
Right.
So like there was always a goal. So it wasn't like when it first happened, I was like, oh no, like now what? like, it was definitely a goal. I wasn't expecting it as fast as it did. It only took me 6 days. So that
fucking crazy. Dude.
That's what caught me off guard was like, and sort of gave me like the nerves, like sort of like geez, like I got to do this. Like I got something here. I can't mess it up,
Dude, because people post on TikTok for so long and they're lucky. They're lucky if their view count gets past like 1,000 people.
And that's why, yeah, you're totally right. It's really hard to keep it consistent. And that's why like I'm so thankful that like I don't know, I've managed to gain a following that will boost my views, I guess. Like,
yeah, but you're in a different alley because if we're being honest, and I know it's hard for anybody to accept like compliments and try to be modest in these situations, but you're really in a lane that not many people are in. Like you said, your first videos were just your hands showing what you were doing. No one had seen your face, no one had heard your voice, nothing. And for you to continue that, like, I think that speaks not to just, the content you put out, but that people really like it. Like, there was a lot of me's. Like, you saw my reaction to it, and you got to think there's probably thousands and thousands more who just didn't tell you about it but followed, because I really believe what you're doing is so far different from what a lot of people are doing. You see DJs on TikTok and you see people, I get a lot of reposts, or I get a lot of posts from, people clipping like dubstep shows or EDM shows or whatever, but you have like a more personal connection with who's watching your stuff. And the fact that you're willing to show people like your transitions and show people where it's coming from, I think that is a huge part of why people want to consume your content. But at the same time, it takes a lot of balls to put yourself out there like that. So did you ever feel like it was after it had blown up, at what point did you say, all right, I'm going to start showing my face and I'm going to start explaining what I'm doing? Like, because like I said, that first video that blew up, I'm looking at it now. You can't see you.
Yeah.
And now you pop up on my feed all the time and I try to like everything you do, but it's wild. So Was that like weird for you? And did you say to yourself, okay, I got to get a better camera. I have to start like showing who I am, and I have to start really pushing what I'm doing.
Yeah, absolutely. That was 100% a thought once I started getting some more attention. And the only reason I wasn't showing my face in the first couple of videos was because I couldn't, because of my filming situation. Like I kid you, like the first video that Stay High mix, that was filmed in my house at a college, up in Columbus, and it's just literally just a table sitting there with my speakers on it, and that's it. And like
It was so simple.
I'm up against the wall, right? And I kid you not, I duct taped my phone to the wall. And I did it for probably my first 10 videos.
I thought you were going to say one video.
Nope.
First 10. Okay. So here's the question that I'm dying to know. I saw that Mercy transition, and what was it? Goosebumps?
Mercy into Antidote, or it's
Antidote.
Antidote.
I'm
it's
sorry.
Antidote into Mercy.
Antidote into Mercy. The amount of people on that app, there's a difference between duetting a video and then creating a video, making it seem like you're the one who created it. The amount of people who I saw trying to steal what you were doing and acting like they're the ones creating it infuriated me, to the point where I was commenting on people's shit like, this is not yours. I know the dude who does this. So as great as TikTok is to give you this following of over 150,000 people, do you reach that dilemma where, let's say you see that video, there obviously must be a part of you that's like happy because people enjoy what you're putting out, but then there has to be a part of you that's like, dude, give me credit. Like, that's not yours, it's mine. And how do you deal with that? What do you do?
So the whole Antidote Mercy thing, that was a saga, man. I'm glad it's over now. I'm not gonna name names or anyone that was like, may have taken content or whatever. The ones that basically what ended up happening with that is that in the terms, I blame it on myself, because when I posted that mix with the Antidote Mercy transition in it, it was embedded within a longer video.
Okay.
And it was a video that I took like when I was on Instagram, still duct taped my phone to the wall. And it was like a cool mix that I've had that mix in my arsenal, if you want to call it, for 3 or 4 years. Like my first, one of my first SoundCloud mixes, Friday Fire episode 1.
I almost introduced you as Mr. Friday Fire, but I do want to get to that later. We'll get to that,
because it's in episode 1. And it's actually a blessing for me, because when the whole controversy came up about like whether or not that was my mix, I would really tell people, go on my SoundCloud, click on the mix from 2 years ago and go to this timestamp.
Yeah, so you had them. Yeah, there's nothing they could do, right?
But so I posted it in a video that it got like it video had like 3,000 likes or something. It's back. It was like back when I had like probably under 20K followers.
Sure.
And
acting like 20K isn't a lot too. That's a very it's a very modest move by you. It just to sit there and go, well, it was just under 20K, like but like most people are dying, would lose an arm and leg. But continue, because I just want to point out how very modest you are, because I would be buying hotel rooms and not staying in them at that point. But continue.
Yeah, I mean, it just feels like a long time ago, but yeah, it's just like it was in the middle of a video, and then in the comments of that video, I had like a bunch of people saying, "Oh, that one transition was amazing," or like, "That was so cool, that was so cool." Good. And I'm like, "Oh, great," but I never thought anything of it after that. And then what I ended up started seeing is other people that would make the video only that transition. And it's genius, because it's like 10 seconds. Mm-hmm. It's like, it's a great it's a great little quick video that you can do. It's not like super hard. Like it's pretty easy to figure out. And it's like great for content creation. That's what I learned too, because when like other people would create that video and then you click on their sound on TikTok and there's like 100,000 videos of people using that sound.
I see that right there would drive me fucking nuts. As much as I would be happy that like I know I created something that people love, I would want to message every person like, "Hey, dude, do you know where this is from?" Like
Yeah.
because it's not like you took it from somebody else. Like you created that transition, and I'm pretty sure, if I'm not mistaken, did the Kansas City Chiefs used it, right?
Well, that was actually that one was mine, because after so many people had made that video and blown up with it, I remade my own.
I fucking dude, I saw that and I was like, what the fuck? Like, okay, so the Chiefs use it. Is that the biggest account and or brand that has ever used one of your transitions or used one of your sounds?
It's up there. ESPN.
Name some more, because this is the modest in you, and I want you to be very clear with me. So for anybody else in America, when somebody mentions the Kansas City Chiefs as using one of your sounds, and then the response is that's one of them, like, okay, who else used it?
Yeah, well, that sound specifically, the ones that I know of, the Chiefs, that was one of the coolest, because
That was so cool to see.
they're coming off the Super Bowl. It was a sick edit too that they did with the wide receivers and all that.
Right.
ESPN has used it a lot. I think they've used it on multiple videos. The most recent one they used it on was NBA draft night of or was it LaMelo Ball? It was him in his suit. Yeah.
They used that for LaMelo Ball?
Yeah. It was like a video of him like spinning a basketball with in his like draft day suit.
Do they tag you in this at least?
I didn't know about it until days after.
Come on, dude. So all right, well, I get it, because that's how TikTok is.
Yeah, and that's what I try to explain it to people. Like, what? You're not getting credit? Well, I am technically. My name is on that video.
Right.
With the link to my profile.
Right.
They've used not even that video. They've used like ESPN has probably used like my sounds in like different mixes too, and I think over 14 videos at this point. And at this point, I'm kind of like, all right, this is really cool. Can you guys just follow me or something?
Right, do something. So they use your sounds, and as you explained, like there's no real, because TikTok and social media in general is like a bloodbath, and trying to get anybody to admit or recognize anything is so hard. But again, it just all circles back to the fact that the content you're putting out stands the time. Like like people understand what it is, they see your name, and that's why you have the following you have.
And that's what I try to focus on. If a mix is like did the Antidote thing and Mercy like mix, did that make me upset for a while? Yeah, absolutely.
I can imagine,
because people there are accounts, there are people that have gained like hundreds of thousands of followers off of that.
There was one kid, some nerd, and I don't want to call him a nerd. I'm sorry, but there was some kid who really tried to make it seem like he was doing it.
Yeah, there's a couple. And like I said, it's over now. The people that had their videos blow up and stuff, I did talk to them. Like, I DM'd them.
Right.
We had discussions. Most of them ended up being very like apologetic or just saying like, sorry, like I found it somewhere else, whatever. I didn't know it was yours. I didn't mean for this to blow up, blah, 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 and it's whatever at this point. It's over. But my biggest thing with all of that is that I try not to get too upset about it, because one, like you said, it did make me feel better that the fact that the idea that I had in my mind worked, even if it wasn't me doing it.
Right.
Like it seemed no matter who did that mix, they blew up. So that came back to me as saying, well, wow, I had a good idea.
You did something right. Exactly.
So I said, all right, at least I'm on the right track with that. So maybe I can do that again at some point.
Yeah.
And then another thing that I always try to focus on, and I said this to everyone that that did end up using that mix and whatnot. It's like I'm a DJ, and I don't think DJs don't own anything. You know what I mean? You
Sure.
can. I don't own the music.
That's a great point.
I don't.
That's a good.
And
Yeah.
for something as simple as that, because the mix is very simple. It's literally just taking open up the window and then hitting when he says open, oh, and then drop into mercy. Okay.
It's still
Right.
still
So like
very.
it's cool. Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I always try to think to myself, is there, that those songs have been out for 5, 6, 7 years now. There's
Right.
might be somebody out there who thought of that before me, even if I don't know that existed. Like for me to say that like that's mine and no one else can use it is wrong, and any DJ who thinks that way is incorrect in my opinion.
Okay, and I get your point, what you're saying, but if it had been done and if it had been used, there would be one of you somewhere else. So like that is your creation. Now, mind you, you're not. I understand you're not Travis Scott, you're not Kanye West. I get it, but that transition is original to you because because you would have seen it as I saw it if anyone else had done it. So I get why it's important to have the mindset of, especially as a DJ, like, everybody's using music and doing the same things and trying to sound like the next person who's big. But I think I don't think you're giving yourself enough credit for actually creating that transition. But
Well, yeah, I'm not saying that I didn't create it. I think in my mind I created that.
Okay,
because I never heard.
cool.
I never. Yeah, I 100% created that. But what I'm trying to say is that I always try to think of the mindset that like even if I did create that in like in my own mind and all that stuff, like I still don't necessarily. I own the idea.
Okay,
it's like
yeah, you're right.
I own the
yes.
idea, but
Yes.
I can't say that no one can do that now.
Right.
Yeah. And obviously, if someone's gonna do it, can you give me some credit, please?
Yes,
but
I was commenting. You better believe I was commenting on all the videos.
I had a lot of
this
people
is
doing
not
that,
your
yeah.
fucking sound. Like, dude. So one thing that you do also from transitions, one thing that and this is what really, this is what made me just be like, dude, I need you on my podcast. Your knowledge and your ability to recognize a good sample. And I think sampling is its own culture within itself.
Oh,
I think there's people who like hip hop. I think there's people who like rap music, who like whatever genre of music, and then there's people who are like sample heads. And for me, I love any type of sampling. So when you started posting those started to blow up. And I think it's really cool because there's a lot of people in the generation now who have no idea that there's a song being sampled that could have been used by a song they've heard that they don't know of.
Mm-hmm.
And did you do was it the J. Cole sample you did?
That the J. Cole one is my biggest video yet.
Okay. Yeah. That's the biggest video yet.
Mm-hmm.
Because that was very clean how you did that. So
that's also one of the coolest samples ever. Like
it really is.
like
so I have like I love I got Biggie Smalls behind me.
Yeah, I see that.
I love 90s hip hop. And I think artists, or especially DJs or producers who, when they were digging in those crates, they had no idea who they were going to find. Mm-hmm. They would get packs of vinyls and not even know who the artists are and play them and pick something from that. So I don't think people understand, and it's important why you're doing it, but I don't think people understand how hard it is for somebody as a producer in music to find a sample and cut it and then make it into a instrumental. Like
sampling is absolutely an art.
Oh my God, yeah.
And there's there's always been that debate about whether or not sampling is, if you have a sample, are you cheating, or like there's people that want to say that sampling isn't good because you're not creating your own melody, or but you really are. And it takes Definitely. And I think the J. Cole sample, if you want to talk about that one from Wet Dreams, God. Is the perfect, and I loved it. I love doing the sampling. I have I think I have 6 or 7 videos with, mixing the original song into the sampled version. And I always start out doing that as a fun project for me, because going back to what we were talking about earlier, I'm an audio engineer. I produce, I've been making music since I was like 17. Um, and I've always sampled things, and I always appreciated sampling because I've done it before,
Right.
and going in and seeing how these producers and these people that you look up to, how they do it and being able to figure it out, teaches you more than anything you could ever, anything any video you could ever watch, or any practice you could ever have. Being able to figure out how they actually did it on your own is it's like you just read a whole book.
Yes.
And it's just so fun. It's so cool to be able to figure it out. And the J. Cole one, it's the original sample is Mariah by I'm blanking on who the artist is. It's a 1974 R&B track.
Probably, but the crazy thing is, like you're saying, a 1974 R&B track. Probably, I'm sure it was a big song maybe at one point, but has faded out.
Oh yeah, I didn't know what that song was.
But those are where the bests come from.
Yeah,
absolutely. They come from these artists who you've never heard of. I watched a video. It was DJ Premier and Ludacris in the studio.
Mm-hmm.
And DJ Premier used one of Ludacris's own songs to sample on a track he was making. Yeah. And he's sitting there being like, I know this part's coming up. And Ludacris is going, you're crazy. I don't say that in this song. And then Ludacris says it, and you just watch Primo lick his fingers and twist it back and go, got it. All right, let's go. Mm. And he does it all right there. So you're coming from a production background of what you want to do. Are your influences in music, are they producers? Are they like who do you look at as when you look at somebody you would want to be or emulate in music? Would it be on the production side, or whoever, whether it's any type of genre? Do you have a set one or two that you really draw inspiration from?
Yeah, absolutely. I kind of put them into different categories, as in terms of I have DJs that I look up to and have been watching forever, and want to be aspire to be as skilled and as good as they are. And I also have people in the engineering side of things and musician side of things. But I probably the one that just keeps popping in my head is I'm a big Drake fan. I have vinyl right there.
Sure. Sure.
Drake's producer, Noah Shabib.
Yeah, 40.
40.
The man.
The dude's a god, and
unbelievable.
And the thing about him is he just has his own style. He does things his own way. I've watched interviews with him, man. The stuff that he has pioneered has just been incredible. And all of his music, all the music that he produces sounds great. Drake will be the first one to say it, that without him, Drake wouldn't exist,
Right.
And because 40 has such an incredible sound and skill set, and he does production as well as engineering, and just he's a guy that I 100% look up to. Love to be able to meet him one day, hopefully. The dude is just he's an engineering god,
Well, that's the thing is I don't think people understand the difference between engineering and producing, and they don't realize how much work actually goes into engineering. And burp city, sorry.
Good.
Because obviously Drake uses however many producers he may use, but 40 could be mixing every single song.
Yeah, he does.
And I listen to it's a video that I think if people want to understand the difficulty of just making one song, let alone mixing it as an engineer, Kanye West was trying to produce Stronger, and it was already a smash hit. And I mean smash hit, but the freak in him was like, there's something off with it. And he brings it to Timbaland, and Timbaland's like,
I think I know what you're talking about.
And then, but you hear the engineer go, he's such a perfectionist that we've mixed this song 11 times and it's still not right to him. and you see the stress on that guy's face, and you know that what they're doing, like you don't know the guy's name, you don't know anything about the guy, but his job is insanely difficult to try and perfect and tune all these songs. And I don't think people understand that there's a difference. Like, yeah, producers get a lot of the credit. They may create a beat, but they create the beat and then it goes to somebody. When you hear it on the radio, that person has made it sound good, and that would be the engineer. Yep. And for you to be in school for that, do you see yourself wanting to do that? Like, is that something that you know, because you've clearly been able to impress everybody as a DJ. Are you going to try to balance both, or are you going to just go full engineer after you get out of school?
Well, there's definitely going to be both. I think engineering is like my real passion. I love DJing, but like I said, I'm in school for engineering. Like that's what really gets me going, really, is like working on mixes and stuff like that. You know, creating great sounds. And that's definitely something that I would like to pursue. But one of the things about DJing, and it's one of the main reasons why I really decided to pick it up, like back coming out of high school and stuff, was that I've seen a lot of like, you know, famous people, like, you know, you want to talk DJ Premier, DJ Khaled. He used to be a DJ. DJ
Premier to me is just side note.
Yeah.
And again, I think I've cut you off a bunch of times, but I'm so interested in what you're saying that I feel like I got to add. DJ Premier to me is on a mountain so high ahead of every producer that like Dre's there. And like,
I was going to mention him.
Yep. And like, you know, I obviously I love Dre. But DJ Premier to me is like, I don't think sonically you can get much better than that.
Yeah, no, he's 100% up on that Mount Rushmore, in my opinion.
Right. And Jay Dilla's up there too. Mm-hmm. I love Dilla, but back to what you were saying. You mentioned Premier, and I just had to. I had to go. I'm sorry.
Yeah, dude. Looking at if you look at like hip hop, especially, looking at guys like Premier and, you know, Dr. Dre, who's especially Dre. There's a guy by the name of DJ Rhetoric, who is another DJ that I really look up to. He's the DJ for Logic.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and talking about him, he had a video on YouTube that just got taken down for copyright, and it's a shame because it might be my favorite video of all time. It's his opening set for one of Logic's shows on the Incredible World Tour in like 2015. He's in New York. And it's literally just a camera of him, like to this, like someone just behind him, and then him doing his opening set, like the 15-minute set to hype up the crowd right before Logic comes out.
Of course.
And it's unreal. Like
it's so good.
It is so good. Like it is like, I watched that video probably like once a month when it was out. And it is one of the things that inspired me to say, okay, I really want to do this because this could be really cool. And what I'm getting at with this point is that, in my opinion, DJing is one of the easiest ways into any part of the music industry.
Really?
You can open up so many doors through DJing. Look at, like I said, look at all those people I just mentioned. They were DJs to begin. They caught the attention of someone. Someone probably said to them, "Hey, I need a DJ for my concert," or "Hey, do you make beats?" Or "Hey, you know, like I need someone to help me with something. You seem like a guy that might know something." And then boom, they create a partnership. And next thing you know, they turn into what they turn into. You know what I mean? Yeah. And it's a way in music, and the music industry is all about networking. It's all about who you know. It's really not about credentials. When you get to a certain level, it's just about networking. And the more people you can create a connection with and leave good memories with, and, you know, and have someone to trust, the more likely you are to get opportunities that maybe other people wouldn't get. You know, so my whole idea when I started DJing is like, I always want to do clubs. I haven't been able to get into a club yet because of COVID.
Well, yeah, because you blew up in the COVID years.
During COVID, yeah. And I just turned 21 at that time. I'm 22 now.
Oh, yeah, no shit. Okay.
So like that was like I had a whole plan lined out for summer, like, because like before TikTok and all that stuff, I'm like, 21. This is going to be my summer. I'm going to try and get into some clubs here, like around Pittsburgh, get my name out there. But obviously that hasn't happened yet in terms of live performances. But my whole goal and what I was planning on for DJing is to just, get my name out there and be in the local music industry and be able to meet people. If you put on a great show at a club one night and there's a guy there who's like, hey man, I got a studio. You do produce whatever, it's just like getting to know people,
Right.
talk to people. Somebody knows somebody who has a studio connection or knows this guy. And that was my sort of goal with DJing, is to just really just as a networking tool to reach other areas of the industry.
Right. And I think the greatest example of what you just laid out is Lil Jon, because Lil Jon is arguably one of the most important producers for my growing up, because he created just about every hit smash that was on the radio.
Crunk.
But most people would never associate him with that. They would associate him with like a pimp cup and screaming yeah, and being in all these advertisements, which I'm sure he was glad to do and make millions of dollars from. But he did that from being a DJ. And he started as a DJ and then produced these songs that got big, and now he doesn't have to do any of that anymore. But it's funny because I saw your TikToks, and then I saw like how you as a DJ really works through the SoundCloud. And I think it was the 2000s mix you put out that if you're 22, which I didn't know, if you're 22, the fact that you put together that many like well-known important songs from when I was really young too, and I'm 6 years older than you, not that it's a huge gap, but you nailed that, and no one would think a 22-year-old would nail that. And I'm pretty sure I messaged you like, dude, I kind of want to like just fly you out here.
I think you did say that.
if I have a party, like I'll pay for the ticket and just play what you created here, because the Friday Fire mixes are always so good. And
thank you.
That 2000s mix was the one that really caught my attention, where I was like, this dude knows what he's doing. So as far as SoundCloud goes, when you put something out on TikTok and you have the following you have on there, do you see that reciprocated on SoundCloud? Or is it like, because SoundCloud's a huge platform, and it may even be bigger than TikTok as far as people who go to it to find content. So that was one of the last questions I had for you was, do you feel like when you put together a body of work and not just those 10-second whatever clips, people must be consuming that as well, right? I would assume, given the following, right?
So SoundCloud has always, like, I've had a SoundCloud for probably 4 years now, where I've posted stuff ever since like probably my senior year of high school. So yeah, about 4 years. And that has always, SoundCloud has always been sort of my prize, like my goal. Like that's the one where I really want to gain attention, or gain a following, because that I can post my full works there. I can, actually show what I can do on there. I don't have a time limit. And there's been plenty of people who have really made it from SoundCloud. You can go on and on about rappers, and
it's the new it's how the new generation makes it is on SoundCloud. That's I feel like every rapper that's big now, they all say the same thing. It's like, well, people like my SoundCloud.
and it's so hard because, and there's that stigma of the SoundCloud rapper, and stuff, and it well deserved too. Like there's a lot of terrible music out there, especially on SoundCloud, but there's also a lot of gems, and it's really hard to cut through on SoundCloud, and especially gain a following, because it's not like a lot of other social media apps where you post and you like someone's picture, or and you send DMs and stuff. Like, you can all do that on SoundCloud, but it's music. Someone has to listen to you. Someone has to give you time. It's not just it's not just you scroll on a picture, you think someone looks good and you follow them.
Yeah, they're not picking it out of a hat.
Yeah, exactly. Right. And it's really hard to cut through there, and that's where I put all my like real effort into. And what I've been able to really focus on in terms of TikTok, you ask about how that translates, is recently my first post to hit 1 million something views was back in October, and it was basically an ad that I created myself for my SoundCloud.
Right. Yeah.
It was I just released Friday Fire 4. I'd had this mix lined up for like a month, but I'm like, you know what? I kind of have a good feeling about the mix. Like I'm gonna save it for when I put this same mix into Friday Fire, and then I'll post on SoundCloud, or I'll post on TikTok and have people go to my SoundCloud from there. And then I did that post, and that post blew up. Like it absolutely blew up. My first my first not $1 million. I do not have $1 million. My I have like 100 from TikTok. uh, uh, my first million view video blew up, and everyone's asking me, where's the link? Where's the link? Where's the link? It's in my bio, blah, 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 you know. And next thing I know, I posted my Friday Fire 4, and within a week it had like 50K plays or something.
Crazy. That's
And for
crazy.
SoundCloud, that's really good, man. It's like,
Yeah.
the 2000s mix hit 100K
It was
on,
so good, dude.
on its own.
It was so fucking good, man.
Thank you. That was my first mix to actually, like, my first extended mix to actually do some numbers on
It
SoundCloud.
was so good.
And it really did it on its own. It's like it sort of, I guess I'm still figuring out the algorithm for SoundCloud, but it caught the attention of the algorithm, and then started putting it out, and I'm still getting like 3,000 plays a week on that. And I released that in I think May, maybe before May. But yeah, in terms of translating people to my SoundCloud, like that's sort of what I'm aiming my TikTok at now,
Right.
because you know it's semi easy to gain a following on TikTok compared to other social media apps like, you know, Instagram and Twitter, and if you want to go with SoundCloud. So my main thing is, like, I want to try and bring people to my actual work. You know, I want to funnel them to my SoundCloud, where I can really post my full mixes and, you know, keep people's attention for up to an hour, you know. And because I feel like that's where I can actually sort of be myself as a musician and a DJ.
Definitely.
Because on TikTok, like, I have to make sacrifices when I make a post, you know, like, because I'm a big fan of like harmonic mixing, which is, for anyone that doesn't know, is taking a song that's in the same key or very similar key and blending them together. Like, you know, I'll take out the bass of one song and add the bass of another song, and it blends, and it almost creates a different song, you know.
Right.
And
Yeah.
it's because they're in the same key, and you find these amazing things, but that stuff takes time to develop, you know. Like, it's hard to put that in a minute or less post on TikTok and have people appreciate that. So what I can do with my SoundCloud and extended mixes is find these amazing songs that go well together and actually play them together and keep people's attention, you know.
Yeah, and you've done a very good job of that, as clearly those Friday Fires are so fucking good. But
Thank you.
I'm also gonna post the link to that SoundCloud in the bio when I post this. So I have two last questions for you.
Sure thing.
One of my favorite Instagram accounts of all time, I saw you on there. You were on Friday Beers at a left field. And I again, one of those things where I know it's not algorithm, and I'm sitting there looking at it. I go, "Is that DJ?" I'm like, "What the fuck?" Like, you were. How did they reach out to you?
Yeah, that was crazy. And so you said it's out of left field. It was out of left field for me. Okay,
Really? Yeah.
this was not a planned thing. You know, that it was like weeks or months in the works that I was just keeping secret. No, this happened just as fast as you saw it. It was that, going back to exactly what we were talking about, my post for Friday Fire 4, that 1 minute mix, like I think it's called 50 United at the Club in 59 seconds. And it was just a speed mix of what's actually in Friday Fire. And and that was like I said, that was my first one that really blew up and got attention, like millions and stuff. And all of a sudden I just got out of a early morning workout for lacrosse. Like, we were conditioning. It was like 7 a.m. I go, it's like 8 a.m. now. I'm eating breakfast with some of the guys on my team, and I look at my phone and I see a DM from Friday Beers.
Oh, dude. See,
and I'm like, what?
It's for people who don't realize, Friday Beers is arguably some of the best Instagram content you can find,
Uh-huh.
including TikTok. And it blew up so fast because
Uh-huh.
so many people love it. So that's why I like, you say what you say, but I don't think people understand the importance of like somebody like you who I feel like would have the same humor I do if you like Friday beers. So when you see that DM, you must be like, oh, oh shit.
Yeah, that was. I looked at it. I'm like, hold on a second. Like,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
had a double take, and they
Right.
commented on my post that I posted on Instagram and said like this is great with the like handshake
Yeah,
emoji and like
yeah,
check your
yeah,
DMs, and I'm like,
yeah.
okay, wait, this is real.
Yeah.
So basically the dude who runs Friday Beers, it's actually two of them. Um, he DMs me and says, "Hey, we have an idea for you. Like, we really like your content. Call me." He gives me his phone number,
His personal phone number?
personal phone number.
No
So
shit.
I end up hopping up. It's like 10 a.m. now. Like I just got out of a class. I'm like driving back to my house, and I'm calling the dude from Friday Beers, and I just do a blind call with him. Like I've never really talked to this guy except for DMs. He basically introduces himself. Super cool guy. I think he talks about what Friday Beers is, because honestly, at that point, I'd seen Friday Beers, but I wasn't like an avid follower of them. You know what I mean?
Right,
Like
right,
I
right.
because they have like this multiverse of people.
I'm one of them. When the
Yeah.
minute they came out, I was like, okay.
Yeah, it's like the
They
MCU of drinking. Like,
ex-
like I did not know the depth that it had. So he
That's such a
basically
good way to put it. It's so true. It
he gave me the rundown of like what they're about, like how things work there. And he's like, we're introducing this new character, and his name's going to be DJ Pressplay. He's like that guy that, and basically his description is that guy that always has to have the aux cord everywhere he goes. He hops in the front seat of the Uber to make sure that he can plug in his phone. He's always sending people SoundCloud links and stuff like that.
yeah.
And he's like, so we have this character, and we want you to help him, like consult with him, like obviously they're all fictional, but they'll bring, because they have like, I forget the other dude's name, like they recently created a gambler guy who like bets on sports.
Right.
And what they did, they brought in an actual like sports bookie, or like, a gambler, like a guy that like works with Vegas and stuff, to consult with him, with this fictional character, and give him tips. And that's sort of what they wanted with me. So like, we're going to like post content with you, like you're mixing with DJ Pressplay and stuff like that.
Okay. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I am not DJ Pressplay. We try to make that clear. I get DMs sometimes saying, "Oh, so you're DJ Pressplay." I'm like, nah, DJ Pressplay is like, my friend, quotation marks. Like,
yeah.
like I consult with him. Like, and they've been really good about that. Always making sure my name's in there and saying, this is DJ Pressplay with DJ BRENN. And
Well, because I saw that and I was like, oh fuck yeah.
yeah, but
like he's really on his way. If he
yeah, so
hit the Friday beers, he's going.
anyways, that was like on a Wednesday. It was like a Wednesday morning. And the dude gave me the rundown. He sent me the video that he like had already created the video that he posted. He just hadn't posted yet. He's like, "Here, what do you think about this?" And it was hilarious. It was amazing.
He was so good.
And and he's like, "Yeah, I want to post this to the Friday Beers account to announce the character today. So let me know what you think." And I basically was like, whoa. like
yeah.
this, that you want to talk about being nervous. That one actually made me nervous.
Right, because it's a cult rabid fan base.
It's a cult rabid fan base. They have over 1 million followers on Instagram. Like,
definitely.
Like they like, it's a brand that I am not 100% familiar with. I obviously knew who they were and whatnot, but like I didn't necessarily know if I was getting myself into something that I wanted to get myself into, because I know as soon as I posted that, I would be getting a lot of attention. I ended up, I had a professor this semester who is an industry, he's like an agent basically. And so I ended up talking to her one day after class virtually, and just saying like, I don't talk about my stuff in like class or whatever, but like,
Sure.
I was just basically like, hey, okay, so this is sort of my situation. I have blah, blah, blah followers on TikTok and Instagram and blah, blah, blah. And this giant account wants to repost me. and she was awesome. She gave me some tips and stuff, but I ended up agreeing to it. And then, so what started on Wednesday morning ended up being posted on Wednesday night.
Oh, wow.
Popping up on that Friday Beers page.
Right.
And you want to talk about it's hard to grow an Instagram. Like that has skyrocketed my Instagram. Like I was at like 1,000 followers on Instagram when they posted that back in October. I'm getting close to 4,500 right now.
And that's all it takes is one, like you talked about earlier, dude. DJing alone can give you these connections that you don't understand what they are until it happens. And then, so you get the Friday beers and they repost you, and then you gain however many followers. Same as TikTok. You have a sound that goes big and you gain, I mean, Jesus, like I said before, I was talking to you when you had a couple thousand. You're at 150K. Like, that's huge. My last question for you is this. And this is something I've always been interested in because you hear people speak about it a lot. And I'm not speaking like you're, in Hollywood driving a Bentley, but do you notice that there's certain people who act differently in good or bad ways from your hometown after you blew up on social media? Like, and I understand it may be hard for you to understand that, to admit that you have blown up, because again, you're a super modest guy. But to me, as somebody who couldn't pale in comparison to those numbers, do you, whether it may not even be your hometown, but it may be people that you've known before, do you see people starting to treat you a little bit differently, or people who may be like wanting to reach out to you who have never wanted to reach out before, or people who don't reach out to you who were reaching out before because of this? Is that like a realistic thing for you?
I've noticed certain things here and there. I would say none of it's ever been a bad thing. Like I wouldn't say anyone has been like moochy or like, or has been like been weird or like, treating me like actually differently and stuff. I've had plenty of people that I hadn't talked to in a while say, like, they would text me and say, yo, like, I just saw you on my For You page. That's awesome.
That's kind of like what I was getting at. I didn't mean it in a way of, I definitely could have worded that better. I mean it in a way like, are you getting more messages from people who you haven't spoken to in a while?
Yeah.
Since that, who are like, hey man, I saw you here and there, and you're like, oh cool, like, and you haven't talked to them in forever.
Yeah, I have, and it's been awesome. Like I was
right.
Like I've received texts from people that like I haven't seen since high school, and like people would just DM me and say, or like someone will comment on my post and say, hey, it's so and so, like, remember me? Like, this is awesome. I can't believe you just came up with my For You page. And that's one of the coolest things to me, because I've been lucky to have a lot of really great friends surrounding me, a lot of great family, and like you mentioned it earlier, like you said, is it hard to it can be hard to blow up in your hometown because everyone knows you differently,
Right.
And I think it's almost been the opposite for me. The only reason I have gotten to the point that I'm at is because I've had friends and family and, just my acquaintances in school that have actually genuinely supported a lot of the stuff that I have.
That's so It's so
like,
cool.
Like me playing, like a freaking nerd playing my mixes at the basketball game, every game, just sitting there by myself at the booth while everyone else is in the student section, like playing my mixes.
Right.
But like everyone has always been like, yo, that was so good, you should do another one or something. Like, I've rarely gotten any type of discouragement from people surrounding me. And that's what has actually allowed me to have the confidence to, put my face on social media and make videos for millions of views and stuff like that, is the fact that I've always been pretty well supported by like my friends and whatnot.
It's pretty rare though. Like
it is. And I feel so lucky for that.
That you should, because that's you don't hear that often. You don't hear that happening. And that's why I was so curious. And also, one thing I want to add to that, when you started to DJ, this is where I'll close it out. Did you start like, because you know how a lot of us who deal with winters for so long and we're always freezing, like there's always that guy who's spinning a really good mix. Let's say it's like an outdoor party. There's a lot of throwback jerseys over sweatshirts, beer drinking outside. It's fucking freezing, but nobody cares.
Yeah.
Did you ever DJ any of those parties like before you did you ever do events like that? Did you ever like start like, hey, my buddy has equipment, I'll have him come over and spin something, and like you were the DJ for that outdoor rager in the middle of winter where it's fucking freezing? And because I know a lot of dudes who have done that, and I've all walked up to them hammered, been like, dude, that was fucking sick, good for you. But like, especially from Pittsburgh, like I assume it's sort of similar where we don't give a shit what the weather is. Like we'll like you'll put whatever you need to put out there, speakers, and everyone will be outside drinking. And so the last question, like when you were doing this as a DJ, how many of those like side gigs did you do for people? And how many, like, you know, like I said, those outdoor freezing, everyone's drunk parties did you do? And what was the response from that? And did that response kind of click it?
Yeah. Definitely once I got to college, that was a thing.
Right. That's what I assumed. Yeah.
I done like, I hadn't even DJ'd actual parties in high school. Like it was always like me and a couple of my friends or whatever. But like once I got to college, it was like my sophomore year of college. Because like my freshman year, I was in a dorm and I had a small DJ board, the Pioneer SB2, the one I started out on. It's a lot smaller than the one I have now. But and like I would just have it out in on my desk in my dorm, and me and my roommate, and like I'd just be playing music and doing mixes, and like we had a very social dorm, right? And like people would be in and out of our room all the time. And like I would have like crowds of like 20 people, 30 people in my dorm while like I was just DJing and they were just having a good time or like watching me or something. So like I sort of got a name for myself as a DJ in a sense there, just like messing around in the dorm room and stuff and just making friends by playing music and stuff. Then we got to like sophomore year and one of my buddies got a house. So we had a lot more freedom at the house. So, we could actually play music real loud and, do stuff. And he was like, yo, like DJ opening weekend here at our house. And I did it. And I have videos from that night. It was great. I got a great response basically. Like people were loving it. Like I had a great time. That was my first real like DJ party experience, I guess, because I'd done weddings. I do weddings. I did weddings, I should say, in the Pittsburgh area. I worked with a company that I would basically just go there and be the assistant for the wedding. And because I'd done things before, but that was like my first real, like on my own, like you said, like, just actual party, in a sense. And that was so fun. You want to talk about, like the freezing cold. We have a tradition at Capitol called Cap Crawl. It's our St. Patty's Day parade, and same house. This was last year. It's March. It's freezing cold. I'm out at the same house that I'm now living at. Outside, got a small table. There's like 100, 200 people in my backyard. I have pictures of this on my Instagram. There's people like on the roof. You can see like,
naturally
people taking pictures down.
Yeah.
And it was freezing. It was like it lasted like an hour and a half before the cops shut us down. But it's funny talking about like being freezing cold during that. We had somebody's parents like to participate in this festivity as well. And we had a parent grilling next to me.
Oh yeah.
Right. He was just like grilling hot dogs and stuff.
Right.
And so I would like, I'd be mixing a song. I would, mix the song. My hands are so cold. I get, my hands are like going numb. I'd mix the song, transition. I'd let that play for a second. As soon as I mix the transition, I go over to the grill and put my hands over the grill.
Warm you up.
And the dad that was there was like dying. Like
Yeah.
he was loving. I'm just literally every minute have my hands on the grill, get some feeling back, mix the next song, put my hands back over the grill,
Right.
and it's fun. Yeah, call it. And you talk about getting into like where something clicked, like that sophomore year for me, where I was DJing like every party on campus I was at. I had fraternities and sororities paying me to do their mixers and their formals, and I was going to like, I was basically being paid for to travel out to wherever it was and do a party there and whatnot. And that's where I was like, and that was all before I even had started an Instagram or knew what TikTok was. And that's where I'm like, all right, you know what, I'm starting to get the feeling that people do enjoy some of what I do, because that's always been a thing for me. Like, I don't know if I'm good or not yet.
Well, I mean,
I don't know. I always think about it.
And here's the thing. The reason that I'm ending the podcast on that question is because we went over all the accolades and your followers and how you've blown up on TikTok and all these things. It's important for people to understand that you just told a story about DJing a party in the freezing cold and having to warm your hands on a grill. Like, there's a beginning to everything. And everybody wants to act like, oh, I can just post it. But if you don't do those things beforehand, before posting on TikTok, like, there's a difference between people who have done those things and put in footwork, and like whether it's something as simple as just going to weddings and being the assistant and warming your hands on a fucking grill to stay warm to entertain 200 people in the backyard somewhere where it's freezing. Like, it's important to let people know that there are humble beginnings to everybody who does something that people enjoy. And that's why normally people would start with that, but I like rounding it up with that because it's like, now everybody can get the idea. Sure, you heard all the great stuff, but there are times where it might have been fun, but at the same time, it was like, it wasn't easy.
Yeah.
And I think that you have put in enough work doing things like that, where the work you put out now, there's a foundation for that. And I think that's really fucking cool.
That's a great way to put it, man. I never really thought it like that.
But I assumed when I heard Pittsburgh, I'm like, oh, he's done those freezing cold nights. Like, I know you. I don't even have to know anything about you. If you say you're from certain places, you just know.
We got 6 inches right now.
We're getting a foot tonight.
Yeah, I'm sure you're getting way more than me. You say you're Buffalo?
No,
Boston.
Yeah, we're getting a foot.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I'm going to be buried tomorrow, and I still got to go to work and freeze my balls off for 10 hours. It's going to be fun. But like I said, that again, you just explained why. As much as people listening to this podcast, as much of it is to promote who he is and let everybody know that his content is amazing, you also have to understand that there is certain things you need to do to get to that point, whether you realize it or not. People have to want to consume what you're putting out. And I think that you're fucking awesome example of that. I saw it from 1,000 followers to 150K, and dude, I just don't see a ceiling for where you're going. So I'm gonna save this podcast forever. And if you do blow up, you better believe in like 10 years, let's say you're in LA or something, you'll see this on your feed again. Like, absolutely, that's gonna happen. So
put it in the books, man. Save it.
I appreciate you coming on, dude. Thank you for giving me your time. I've been wanting to do this for a little bit. So again, the last thing, is there anything that you want to say that you plan on doing upcoming, whatever, the floor is yours for that. And again, any links to DJ BRENN's content, I will be putting in the bio. So you'll be able to find it there as well.
Yeah, first I just want to say thank you to you for having me on here. Like I said, this has been a great experience for me. This is one of my first podcasts I've ever done. You're a great host, man. This is great. I got to start tuning in to more of these. I'm excited to hear what you got coming in the future. In terms of anything else, I think just circling back, I think you talk about like that I'm modest or that I, don't give myself enough credit sometimes. And I think the reason of that is because you talk about like humble beginnings and whatnot, and, doing the stuff that necessarily isn't always fun. And I feel like I still have a lot more of that left to do before I can call myself successful in a sense. Like I haven't DJ'd a club yet, and I feel like that's something I really need to do. It's something I want to do, but I haven't done. There's certain things that I feel that I have not done yet. Some of it because of COVID, some of it just because I just haven't gotten there yet. But I feel like I still have a lot left to do before I can, be satisfied with anything in terms of that. But in terms of upcoming things, I got Friday Fire 5 on the way.
I can't wait to drop that link for people to
today. What is Wednesday, December 16th? I'm aiming for the end of December. Aiming. Yes. If it doesn't, I want to say December. If it doesn't happen, it will be January.
Either way, I don't even care. Just say when it comes out, I'll be ready for it.
Yeah, that one, I'm putting a lot of work into that right now. So be on the lookout for that. In terms of anything else, man, I'm just trying to finish
pumping content, right?
I'm just trying to finish up school. I'm trying to finish up school, get done with that, get back to Pittsburgh, get in some clubs.
Hell yeah, brother.
Do some shows, see some people in person. I got so many people asking me that they want to, ask me where I play or asking me like to do a show or if I do a concert or anything. Like I'd love to be able to meet people, like this is awesome. I love being able to interact with you. I would have never met you if it wasn't for DJ, and that's what's so great.
Right. It goes back to the point you made way before. It's the same thing, man. And hopefully, God willing, everybody, stays healthy and is able to get through this. And when this vaccine hits, we can all gather in large places and you'll be able to see this man performing his mixes at a club that you are at. And you could reference this podcast. You can say, oh shit, I heard him there. Fuck. Oh, it's the same guy. Oh, okay. The fire's coming. Right. So that's where we're going, man. And like I said, there's no ceiling. Everybody stay happy, healthy. And again, man, I appreciate you for coming on and it was an awesome interview. And like I said, he mentioned it. Look for the Friday Fires. Follow him on TikTok. I will post all of his stuff in the bio. So BRENN, you're the man. Thank you.
Appreciate you, man. Thanks.
All right, brother.